Gentlemen, welcome back to the shop. So on this episode of Tommy Sucks at Rat Rotting, you get to see the glory that is my fully roached distributor. So, set you down here, let you look at my belt buckle. What we have here is whatever early 80s, late 70s vacuum advanced distributor that was on that little 289. And so I'm driving it the other day, did like 10, 15, 20 miles, something like that. Everything was going good. And drove it all the way around, took it, showed a couple people, took it to Natalie at work. All her people came out and said, "Oh, that's so good. Look at this, look at that. Oh, it's so amazing you have the ability to do stuff like this." And I was feeling pretty good about myself. And then took it all the way home, screwed around in the garage a little bit. Everything was cool. And I got greedy and I was like, I'm going to take it through the drive-thru. I'm going to take it to lunch. I'm going to go get a burger. Get in it. Fires right up. Everything's still working. Idle's good. Just had a full tank of gas in it. I was like, oh yeah, going to be a good day. And made it, I don't know, 6, 7 streets away from the house. Going downhill. Like first gear, just tooling along, maybe 20 mile an hour. And the thing just backfires hard. Like 2 times out the exhaust, ba-doom! Like I thought something was gone, roached. I didn't know what it was. I was pretty sure it was a backfire, but the engine shut off right after that. And so I was like, uh-oh. Coast over to the side of the road, make a turn down the little side road. Start looking it over, looking at this, looking at that. Has fuel in the float bowls. Lo and behold, no spark. So I'm checking all my janky wiring and I'm wiggling stuff under the dash and it must be the ignition, the control module, this, and all the sketchy junk that I did on it, and just looking at it, wiggling stuff. Keep checking for spark, check in front of the coil, check behind the coil, check, make sure I didn't have broken wires, just all over the place. Everything else was working fine. And so I call Natalie, she goes, gets my truck, brings it to me, we tow strap it, drag it up the hill, back to the house. And I proceed to go buy a new ignition control module, thinking it must be that, right? Because it's the only thing you kind of can't test. They say that they can't test it, at least. I know, you probably could. Just plug it in. I think they have a thing at like AutoZone, but the lady at the O'Reilly didn't seem too convinced she could do it, so screw it. It was like 30 bucks, I bought one. Came home, plugged it in. Of course it didn't work, because when you don't troubleshoot and you just swap parts, it never works. But looking at this, looking at that, reading all the stuff on the internet, maybe it's this, checking, is my tack grounding something out, stupid stuff like that. Like 4 hours into this, like I'm deep down the rabbit hole on potential, why isn't my junk running? And I read a thing and it's like, well, make sure the distributor's moving, this and that. And I'm like, why would the distributor not be moving? That doesn't make any sense at all. And so I go out and I pop the cap off of it. And I look at it and it's in the exact same position it was 4 hours earlier when I checked it the first time on the side of the road. I was like, what are the chances that that is a thing after I crank it and screw around with it for the better part of a day out in the street? So I pop the distributor out and the gear is absolutely demolished. A lot of guys are saying, oh, the roll pin breaks, the gear spins, this or that. This isn't broken. I popped the roll pin out to see if it was loose on there. The roll pin isn't even holding this gear. The gear is pressed onto the shaft so tight. So, I don't know, might be able to see that. It's totally and completely just roached. Run all the way down to like a razor fine edge on most of these teeth. And then you get whoop to this little section right here. And it's 4 or 5 teeth in a row just missing. Just all the way gone. So I don't know how it was doing beforehand. Get you another little, oh yeah. Look at that guy. Oh, I'm making power. Everything's going so good. Look at my skills and abilities. Oh yeah, it's roached. It's done. It's garbage. So I don't know. I don't know why it happened. No idea. I mean, there's a couple other things that say, oh, certain cams from these manufacturers X amount of time ago were known to have the wrong, the wrong pattern for certain distributor gears. This could have been a crappy distributor gear. The distributor could have been garbage already when it got put in. This motor is as old as I am, older. The distributor is older than I am, so I have no idea if it was good when it got put in. I don't know anything about it. So I ordered a distributor real quick. It's on like Amazon. It's like 50 bucks. It'll be here whenever it gets here. Prime is like, oh, 2 days, and then I click the button. It's like 17 days, and I'm like, eh. But I already ordered it. It'll be here whenever it gets here. Nothing local, nothing on the Craigslist, so I end up pushing it up the hill, up my driveway into the garage with my other truck. I put the tow hitch in and just like set it on the ball and like backed it all the way up the hill. And Natalie's out there and she's like kicking a block under the tire in case it starts rolling down the hill. And it was a good little sketchy moment there. But either way, I've never seen a distributor gear do this before. I'm sure it happens. They sell new gears, but they cost as much as a new distributor. So it's obviously common enough that people start to think, oh, it's supposed to have a brass gear, a bronze gear, a steel gear, or whatever. Oh, the cast gears wear out, stuff like that. So I don't know what to do about it, but some people are telling me, oh, you need to go over here and you need to pull the whole top end of the engine off, and you need to pull all the lifters out and the rockers and slide the cam out, check the cam. What if your cam's roached? You can't see anything down there. So I'm just going to jam the rag back in it. But I'm kind of thinking it's probably one of those things that if you look at it, it's going to be bad. So if I get in there and check my cam, the cam's going to be bad. If I don't check it, it will probably be fine. See that's kind of where I'm leaning. I mean, as you can see, I have plenty of other stuff to be doing out here. Mostly driving the rat rod around is what I want to be doing, but all the motorcycles, this one still needs to get finished. I haven't done anything to it but roll it out away from the wall. And yeah, I don't know. A glorious, 20 miles of driving around. Thumbs up, girls waving, dudes wanting to talk to me about it all the time at stoplights, all that other stuff. I mean, it was a pretty good time, other than the people wanting to talk to you all the time. But having it be so exciting and having so much fun and thinking, oh yeah, after like 10 years in the making, I've had this body, as it turns out, for like 9 years. And I've just been picking away at it, and, well, picking away at it is a little bit optimistic. I had it, I thrashed on it for about 6 months, and then I ignored it for about 7 years. Stuck it in a shed, stuck it in my storage unit, moved it here, moved it there, flat-toed it everywhere, being basically done but not working. So getting it to the point where I have license plates, it's got headlights that work, it's got a floor in it, it's got seats, it's got a tail light, all that stuff. Being able to drive it around with insurance, like legit, have some fun, to having it just totally grenade on the side of the road, not even in a way that I expected it to. When it shut off, I was convinced. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wiggle some wires, it'll start right back up, I'll take it back home, I'll get my truck, I'll go get a burger, whatever, not a big deal. But man, I wiggle everything that there was, and I'm checking my wiring here and there, and so I spent so much time second guessing myself that now I have 3 or 4 other things to fix on the rat rod while I'm waiting for my distributor to show up, because I took a bunch of junk out and checked it, and oh, this wire's a little bit crappy, this wire's a little crappy, so now I have to fix all the wires that I broke trying to diagnose it, make sure that the coil still works, because I was, slamming 12 volts into it and out of it, trying to get any kind of spark anywhere, just troubleshooting. So we'll see. I got plenty of room in here, all that's fine, but going from like the highest high to the lowest low so quickly is always a bit of a bummer. Yeah, so that's about all I got. That's the rat rod diary as it sits right now. Everything else is cool, worked fine. Gas isn't leaking out of the tank. It's like a stainless steel spun tank that my brother Mark set up way back when. I TIG welded a little stainless tab on the bottom so I can mount it to the frame, and it's holding gas, it's not leaking. All my fuel lines are solid, the brakes are working. Like, this is definitely not the most sketchy thing I've ever done. It's still up there, but it's not the most sketchy thing I've ever done. But the fact that for the 3rd week in a row, I was fully adamant and excited to drive this thing to breakfast on Sunday and be like, yeah, look at me driving my hot rod around. And Natalie's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And having something happen just before then is always kind of a drag. But the good news is at least other people have seen it, like out in the wild, and have vindicated me. They're like, oh yeah, that's definitely cool. So that's a little bit of a motivational situation. Give you a little tap, a little nudge to just spend the $50, throw a distributor at it, and see if it works better, see if it's worse. If it strips out another distributor gear, I'll throw the cam in the garbage probably. I mean, I should probably get in there and check all that stuff anyways, like I said, but I don't think I'm going to. I think it's good enough. Just gonna throw a dizzy at it, go out and try and do some more burnouts. But I guarantee you that's the first thing I'm gonna check from now on when it stops sparking. Very first thing, I'm gonna go over there and make sure that the distributor is spinning when you're cranking it, because, dude, it took me so long to find it, because who checks that? Nobody checks that. No, like, I mean, you look at it and you're like, well, the rotor looks good. I mean, there's no soot, there's no, all the contacts are clean inside the cap. I was like, yeah, it's not the distributor. The distributor's fine. So, who does that? Either way, rat rodding is just like hot rodding, except less expensive. So, meh. We'll see you next time when I break something else, probably.